recording right now. Also, just a little housekeeping. I want to make sure that everybody places themselves on mute, as we want to make sure that we can fully hear either our moderator who is asking the questions or our candidates that are answering. That just gives us none of that background noise that might distract us from those answers. Also, in that, I will be recording each person's answer, so timing it, and then I will show a 30-second card when you have 30 seconds left of your answer. Our moderator will let you know how many minutes, the beginning of each question that you have. And then at the end of your time limit, I will show a stop card. So just be mindful of that. We want to make sure that every candidate has the same amount of time to answer and that we can get through all the questions, as we only have an hour to make sure that our candidates get to answer appropriately for the questions, and then also that we all get to hear everything within that hour time stream. I want to thank you again for coming. I know you guys are all extremely busy, but this is very important. It's important to me that we all vote locally and that we get to hear from our candidates on a local side of things, because they are the ones that really make our community special. So at this time, I want to turn it over to our forum moderator, also our past president of the Auburn Area Chamber, Ingrid Mendia.
Thank you, Casey. Thanks for having me. It's nice to see all of you this evening. We are going to start by having each of you give a brief introduction and explain briefly why you are running for office, and you will have 3 minutes. We will start with Mayor Backus.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this, as well as Boeing, my former employer, as the sponsor this evening. Being the mayor of Auburn is my dream job. Many of you have probably heard me say that before in various situations, but it truly is. I am a product of the Auburn School District. I graduated from Auburn High School. I also graduated from Green River College. I have my Bachelor of Science degree in accounting, and I worked for the Boeing Company for 25 years. The last 10 of those years, I was also on the Auburn City Council. And during that time is when I realized my true passion was working with the people in this community, the one that I grew up in, the one that I love, the one that has been so good to me. And I wanted to make sure that I was giving back on a larger scale than as a council member, which is an incredibly important position, but I wanted to do it full time. And so that's why I chose to run for mayor. And I'm very proud that I was elected as the first mayor for the city, first female mayor for the city of Auburn in its 128 years existence at that time. I came in right after the Great Recession and thought that everything would be related to economic development during my tenure as mayor. And that hasn't been the case. There have been numerous challenges, not the least of which has been the recent COVID pandemic, but homelessness, affordable housing, good family paying jobs. Those have been issues that I have tackled along with our council. I think locally, but I like to act and partner regionally. And so I am proud of the appointments that I have been given on the Sound Transit Board, as well as the Puget Sound Regional Council. I was the president of Sound Cities Association, which is all of the cities in King County, except for Seattle. I am a member of SCIP, South County Housing and Homeless Partners. We just recently established a similar organization in Pierce County, SHAPE, South Sound Housing Affordability Partners. And so there are numerous issues that I'm working on at a regional level to ensure that our voices are heard at the local level. And I am proud of the work. There is still much to be done. And so that is why I chose to run for a third term. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Wendy Odell. Oh, she was on. There you are. You're on mute, Wendy.
There. Is that good? All right.
Yes,
Hello.
thank you.
My name's Wendy Odell. I'm running for Auburn City Council position number 2. I'm running because I believe with my hands-on, well-rounded, worldwide background, discipline, and years of budgeting, I can help lead the city into a stronger tomorrow, while retaining what we all love about Auburn, which there's a lot. My education is basic military training, communications specialist, logistics management training, and professional leadership development, correctional officer training, and bachelor's of science in business management. My work experience is a communications specialist, a supply clerk, and sergeant, which entails a whole bunch of stuff that I won't spend the time going into. But basically, I was responsible for over $60 million worth of equipment. I was responsible in making sure that we got all of our equipment on a unit, on an individual, on a unit, and on a battalion level. And I was in charge of transportation, logistics, maintenance, and budgeting for our battalion. My major concerns are public safety, police, and prosperity. Public safety, security in our shopping areas, our local neighborhoods, and for our children at school. Proper funding, training, and accountability for our police officers. I think that's very important. I love what is happening with the police department right now. I follow that quite closely, and I'm actually quite proud of that. And prosperity. We need a raise in incomes, good paying jobs, starter jobs for our youth, to fill the empty businesses in Auburn, to make affordable, to curb the homeless, to create affordable housing, and all that without destroying our current neighborhoods. How much more time do I have? Am I almost out? Okay. As a member of the City Council, I intend on working as a team player to accomplish the goals of the people of Auburn, to create and work and stay on a budget that helps, supports, and grows our community. Working to reconcile zoning and coding laws that allow our businesses to expand and remodel. And something else I really love that they're doing is improving or continuing the improvement of streets and roads. I didn't answer the question.
Oh, you did?
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought I just heard somebody come up and say I didn't answer the question.
Oh, I think someone isn't on mute. So if you are not on mute, if you could please put yourself on mute, or perhaps Casey could do that for you. Sorry, Wendy, go ahead. Is she
Okay.
at time? Okay.
All right. So basically, I'm asking the businesses of Auburn to let me be their eyes, ears, and voice in the room, and let me stand up for them, and please vote for me, Wendy Odell, for Auburn City Council.
Thank you, Wendy. Kate Baldwin.
Sure, thank you so much. So, hi everybody, thank you for having me. I certainly appreciate the Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce for their time and consideration and invitation, as well as Boeing for hosting. My name is Kate Baldwin, and I'm a first-time candidate for Auburn City Council, position 2. I have arrived in Auburn. My husband and I settled here about 5 years ago. I like to think that I bring an outsider's perspective, a young perspective, and fresh ideas to the council. And while I've lived all over the country, Auburn is where my husband and I have decided that this is where we want to plant our roots. From our perspective, we have lived in the greater Seattle area for, for myself, well over a decade, for him, most of his life. And when we were looking for a place that we wanted to call home, what we found in South King County, what we found in Auburn was a great amount of diversity, a mixture of race and voices and cultures that all come together in this area. And so this is where we really wanted to get in and plant our roots. And so with that, I've been serving locally with the 47th LD district as their executive committee member. And as we were looking for someone who wanted to step up, give back to the community and run, they were looking for candidates. And this was something that I had always wanted to be able to give back to my community. Professionally, I am a senior solution architect. I work in IT service management, and I work with software that's called ServiceNow. That software actually drives IT and enterprise process for most of the major companies that you'll find in the Pacific Northwest. I've worked with clients like Starbucks, Microsoft, REI, names that I think we're either wearing or maybe have a cup on our counter or at home. And then I've also had the benefit of working with groups like the city of Tacoma, helping their IT divisions as well. Prior to that, getting into the IT space, I used to be a reporter. I covered education, so very familiar with the importance of education in a community, covering K through 12 for the county. And I also looked at state and federal policy, and I covered the University of Idaho from that perspective. In addition to that, I also worked with a grant-funded nonprofit that helped farmers and ranchers who did organic and sustainable farming and ranching, and making sure that they had sound business practices so that way they could continue year after year. That organization worked very much like a small business development center. So I do care about making sure that we can get in and give good practices on things like direct marketing, legal liability to our own businesses that are starting up, and make sure that they can stay year after year. In addition to that, many years of volunteer experience, which you would be able to see on my website, voteforkatebaldwin.com. And so as we come forward, I want to make sure as a member of council that I'm able to get in, work to address homelessness with the Housing First approach, make sure the city is investing in supportive social services to wrap around traditional policing, and make sure that we're supporting a living wage. And of course, make sure our businesses downtown have a strong core. So thank you very much, and look forward to sharing more with you as we go.
Thank you, Kate. Hanan Amir.
Thank you for having me. My name is Hanan Amir. I was born in Oklahoma, raised in Benghazi, Libya, moved back in Auburn in 2008. Married my husband who lived in Auburn area from 1990. We have 2 growing children, both of whom were raised here in Auburn. One of them served 6 years in Air Force. I have 2 grandkids, proud. One of them, he'll be 2 years next month. I have bachelor degree in chemistry. I work as material process engineer in one of the major aerospace company. I started volunteering in Auburn and Food Bank, then White River Museum, Auburn and Makashutu Library. I'm active volunteer with Auburn Police for 11 years. I'm Girl Scout leader. I'm trainer in Western Washington. During the pandemic, I wasn't able to volunteer more because I lost my volunteering as tax volunteer with United Way. Then I started thinking I need to be more involved. So that's why I decided to step in and apply for city council. One of the things, I have 3 major things I wanna work in them. I know I love my city, and let's say Auburn more than you imagine. I live here, I volunteer here, and I feel like there is 2 things I wanna work in them. One of them, homeless. We see that increase of the homeless. I wanna support the people. Second thing, the small business. I would love to help the small business. We see many of them struggle during the pandemic. Besides, I'm a good listener. My biggest goal to listen and understand what the citizens of Auburn want. One of the things that's why I step in. It's not okay to vote no against hazard pay for anyone work during the pandemic. It's not help the community. So with my busy schedule, I decided to run. My volunteer experience make me unique, qualified to be a servant for citizens of Auburn. So vote for me. If you need a leader who listen, who understand, who engage, that will be me. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Councilmember Trout.
Hello, thank you, Ingrid. It's nice to see you again. Thank you, City Chamber of Commerce and Boeing for having us tonight. Why am I running for my third time is because, as the mayor says, I love Auburn. I have lived here with my husband, Ron Manuel, for already 18 years, going on 18 years. I come from the east side of the mountains. I was raised in Walla Walla. I got my education as early learning. I ended up opening up my own business as a bilingual preschool and daycare. I ran it for 18 years, very successful. I always had a waiting list. Every child that graduated from my center went on to kindergarten being bilingual in both languages, in English and in Spanish. I moved over, while I lived there, I also ran for state representative, and that's where I got my experience as running for office. I ran against a very large profile person, and I didn't succeed, but I did okay. Then when my husband passed away in 2007, I moved over here to Auburn. I fell in love with Auburn because it reminded me of Walla Walla. It's small, it was, the people here in Auburn were very nice, very accepting and welcoming. And I've never felt like I was never welcome in this city. Then in 1993, I lobbied for a highway on the east side of the mountains due to my brother getting killed by a drunk driver. When I moved here and I ended up lobbying for a 4-lane highway, I got it in 2.5 years. When I moved here to Auburn, the first year I lived here, there was an accident up here on 164. I ended up wanting to meet the mayor to see if we could do something about the highway. Well, that's what started me getting involved in council. Pete Lewis asked me to serve on the planning commission. I served on the planning commission for 3 years. I was going to go on for another 3 years, and I was asked to run for city council, and here I am. I want to run for my 3rd year because there's still a lot to do. I am so involved in the community. I belong to 3 nonprofit organizations, the Sons of Italy, the Morning Kiwanis Club. I used to belong to the Lions Club. They still accept me as a member. And I also am on 2 committees with the Auburn High School. I'm with the CTE program and also with the Coalition Prevention and Intervention. I want to serve and continue doing the work that we have been doing in the city council, and also working to be able to do more for the homelessness and also for affordable housing with Skip as the mayor being on the chair. I have done some very good work, and I listen to my constituents. I'm out there talking to my constituents and with my businesses daily. Thank you for having me, and vote for Yolanda.
Thank you, Councilmember. Our second question, and we will start with Wendy Odell. The question is, share your vision for the city in the next year, 5 years, and 15 years. You will have 2 minutes to respond. I will repeat the question. Share your vision for the city in the next year, 5 years, and 15 years. Wendy.
Why do I have Yolanda on here? Am I on the screen?
You are.
Okay, because I was seeing Yolanda. Okay, so my vision is as a council member, our job is to take care or to vote, and the laws that we make determine how the businesses are going to be, and how the businesses are going to be, what rules are going to follow. And the businesses the small businesses, they want security. They want to know that they can follow the rules and still be able to expand and change their business. The big businesses, they want to have, they want to know that if they follow the rules and they, then their projects like the buildings are going to be approved quickly. So where I see the city in the next year is I see the downtown growing. I see in the next 5 years, I see hopefully the GSA sold, created into some type of whether it's manufacturing, which that's what I think our city would want. So that whole area developed, and what was it, 10 years also?
The next year, 5 years, and then 15 years.
Okay, and 15 years, I mean, hopefully by the time, during this process, while we're building up the businesses and GSA is redone, the GSA location, then hopefully we are also changing the zoning for the housing and creating more affordable housing for our families. And that's where I see it in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Hopefully in 15 years, we will be out of the stump of not having housing for our young families.
Thank you, Wendy. Kate.
Sure, thank you. So for the question on where we can hope to be within a year from now, 5 years and 15 years, within this initial year, I think one of the things at the top of our minds are trying to figure out as a city, how do we navigate and negotiate the new bills that have come down from the state, in particular House Bill 1310 that addresses policing within the community. I think that's an area where, as a member of council, we would look to be working with our police department, with our local law enforcement, to make sure that we have clear understanding of those rules and how those are going to be applied when we have situations that need to be addressed within the community. With that bill in particular, it doesn't mean that we're not going to be out there making sure that people are abiding by laws. We do have police force and they do great work here, but making sure we understand how that's going to be applied in the day-to-day, so that way we do have safer downtown areas, safer community. In addition to that, we also have recently the purchase of the Clarion Inn, which is going to create 100 additional housing units within the city. So making sure that we find and connect our currently homeless residents and get them into that housing, I think we can see an immediate uplift in that space by being able to take advantage of that program that's been rolled out. So it would be navigating that program and helping guide through that. In addition to that, we have the ARPA funds that are coming out post-pandemic that are federal funds. We've already received the first half, or rather the city has, and has decided where that's going to go. The second portion of that is due, I want to say, in January. And so we're going to have to look at where that's going to be allocated and how we can put that to use with the current problems that we have in the community, including housing, safety in those different areas, as well as sometimes it's making sure folks are able to get a raise. In 5 years, I would look to be filling the downtown business, working with our business incubator and the IPZ. At 15 years, I'd like us to be tackling more transit projects to make sure that we have more room for folks to come and go. In that time, we're going to be up to 100,000 residents, and traffic's bad enough as it is. So I would say tackling those projects and trying to make sure we're working with Sound Transit and Metro Transit to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Hanan.
For first year, it will be the homeless and affordable houses, help the small business. For 5 years, diversity. I would like to see more diverse people moving to Auburn, where they feel they're welcoming and they're part of the community. I know Auburn is a safe city, but during my living here, even as a volunteer, it wasn't easy. I without mentioning any organization, I will be sitting in meeting room. I spent 1 year, no one will come to sit near me. So I want everyone, I want our city to be more diverse, more opening for more diverse people to move in. In 15 years, I have to mention one thing. It's necessary The city council position is necessary, but it should be for limited time. The city council members should be perform the best for their ability, and they're willing to step aside and share obligation with the other citizens. So my goal, I will not stay till 15, but my vision in 15, as Kate said, hopefully we will have a sounder, we will have more people moving, maybe we get the light rail here. This is my hope for and vision for the city of Auburn.
Thank you, Hanam. Councilmember Trout.
Yes, the first year is trying to get our police officers back due to the 1310. That would be nice to be able to get our community to start feeling safe, and also the people feeling that their property will also be safe. The 5 years, during that 5-year period, I am looking forward to making sure that we have better jobs, more jobs in our city, working with our small businesses, making sure that we've got the businesses feeling safe where they can have employees, their employees to be able to stay, and also having them to be able to have affordable housing to come into our city. As we have been working with the city, with the council already, with the mayor on the SCIP, and there's also the SIP from Pierce County, working with them and trying to get affordable housing in here into our city. Also, just to continue making sure that we listen to our businesses, making sure that we're out there as council members, not just saying that we're out there, but doing the legwork and meeting with all of our business people and hearing their concerns, as well as our constituents, hearing what our constituents are saying, and making sure that within the 5 to 10 years, that there is a safe place. Our community would be back to the way it was and continue being safe and sound, making sure we've got those affordable wages so that the youth that are graduating are going into a good job to be able to afford to keep their families here in Auburn. Just continue doing what I'm doing, still building those partnerships with all these different organizations and the tribal and all the business people that we have built those strong connections with. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Backus.
Thank you. Well, a lot of the things that I have that I wanted to say have been shared, and I am thoroughly impressed by what the council members and potential council members have been saying. In the 1-year time frame, the pandemic will be over and businesses are open and thriving. We're no longer looking at proof of vaccination cards, that those are something that we can put away and go about our business. We are continuing to work on homelessness issues, that we are able to continue with the work that is being done with our community court down on Auburn Way North, that our shelter is reducing in the number of individuals who are using the congregate shelter. The health through housing model at the former Clarion Hotel is a huge success. They are good neighbors. They are finding their way back into mainstream society with the assistance of the services that are available. In 5 years, well, you'll have a new mayor in 5 years. And so I look forward to sitting in this type of an event, listening to what the new mayor will come up with, and hope that I have provided a strong foundation for that mayor to come in and continue to work for a city that hopefully they love as much as I do. We will be a city of 100,000 people at that point, and we've got to find funding for all of our roads, for our arterial roads. We also have to find funding for new roads and the preservation. The GSA property will be redeveloped and it will be a center for strong family wage jobs. The parking garage will be complete, and we will be continuing with our diversity and equity work. In 15 years, our Main Street will be reimagined, and with a strong core comes all of the stronger areas within our city. We are considered the premier city in the region.
Thank you, Mayor. For the next question, we will start with Kate Baldwin. How would you work to address the homeless population as well as protect community property?
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, House Bill 1310 is one that came from the state into the community. And some folks have concerns that that is preventing the police from being able to do their jobs. But it doesn't prevent police from stepping in if somebody is presenting as a threat. It doesn't prevent police from stepping in if they see someone doing damage to property, if they see someone actively engaged in a crime. And so if we see something happening, it's very important that we encourage everyone in the community to call 911 and take and use that service for what it's intended for. So in that space, I think that we do have a great police force who are out there and actively trying to do that work. With the homeless population, I think one of the challenges we have is that we talk about it as if it's one unit, one group, but it's actually a number of different types of people that are experiencing homelessness. And so I think we have to work with our city coordinator to better access and reach those groups and take to them what they need in that time. Some people I think would be very shocked to find out that based off the Urban Institute's estimates, about 25% of unhoused people are actually employed. And the National Coalition for Homeless estimates that between 40 and 60% of folks who are unhoused are actually moving in and out of jobs, both part-time and full-time. So being unhoused doesn't mean that you're not working. What it means is that the housing crisis is an affordable housing crisis. And so change in that space is going to come from connecting people with vouchers that might be available to them, making sure that we're doing zoning so we can get faster development and get more properties in the area, and then doing infill to grow up and get room for these folks to live here within the community where many times they're already often working. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Next is Hanan Amir.
Homeless, it's national an issue. First is not only in city of Auburn. That's the reason I decided to step to be city council. As we note, there is many people homeless, and I start even seeing some people during the pandemic start living in RV, which it was mom with 2 kids, because they don't know there is resource. We have resource here in city, but people don't know. So my goal to be more provide and let people know about the resource. I see a lot of people when I was filing tax. I had one of the lady who came to file tax, and when I asked her in the survey for United Way, she said, "Oh, I will be homeless soon." This lady, one of the things maybe I help her during the tax, I find that she's head of the household, which she didn't know. She moved out from different states. She was for years a single mom, but she was as a single, she didn't understand her son, adult son, who just get kidney transfer. She is eligible. When we talk to him, I find she has another grandkids. I just help her by listening, and I ask the correct question. So that's what I want to do, to be more listening, provide. Hopefully we have more mental health, because these people, they choose to be out. There is reason we need to go talk to them. We should look to them as they are part of the community. We should not just look to them and say, "Oh, it's ugly, they destroy the city." No, they need help, and we need to provide the help in any way we can. Even I'm asking the citizen, go volunteer, provide food for the food bank. We can help. We need all the help we can. So that's the homeless issue, provide the information and help.
Thank you, Hanan. Councilmember Trout.
Yes, hi. The homeless issue is not something new. That's why I got involved in, I ran for city council my first time. is because I saw the homeless issue out there. And as I was out there campaigning, I had several of the homeless people come to me and they said, so why should I vote for you? What will you do for me? I'm homeless. How can you help me? And I go, well, I won't know until I get in there how and which way I can help you. Once I got in as a city council, I found out that we did have a lot of resources. We did have things in place, but then we went out and we ended up hiring Pat Bailey, who is with the Blue Ribbon Committee. We went out there and we talked to some of these homelesses, and we found out, as Kate says, there are different types of homelessness out there. There are some of those that are just choosing to be out there. They work, they've got full-time job. They choose to be out there. Then there's some that do have the mental and drug abuse system. And then they've got the other ones that can't find affordable homes or have just lost their homes because the rent increased. So we do have the issue of it, but it's gotten worse since the pandemic. And now it's going to even get worse with the initiative being taken down for the renters are going to end up having to start paying rent because the mandate is coming off. So we're going to have a bigger issue when this happens. But that's why I am in here. I'm trying to help us come up with a solution with bringing in some more affordable housing and everything. But it's not something new, and it's not something that we're not listening, because we are hearing everything that is being said out there and we're trying to help. But some of these people are choosing not to accept the help, and there's not much we can do when they're not accepting it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Oh, I
Councilmember.
still got 30. Oh, no.
Mayor Backus.
Thank you. So yesterday I convened a group of the mayors from Renton, Federal Way, and Kent to meet with our legislators who were responsible for some of the police reforms. We agreed that police reforms are necessary. However, some of the latest legislation, including, as Kate mentioned, House Bill 1310, has a great deal of gray area in it. Between the intent of the law and the letter of the law, our officers are operating in a very gray area. And so there is a sense in the community that we are less safe. We have done a survey. Most of those responding have said they do feel less safe since the legislation went into effect. And so the goal is to work with our legislators to provide reasonable reforms that will still keep our community safe. So those conversations will be ongoing. The infrastructure for behavioral health, for mental health, was also voted on through the legislature, but the infrastructure is not in place yet. And so to ask a police officer to contact a mental health professional to help when someone is in crisis, they simply are not available yet. And so in the meantime, our officers still need to respond to that. As far as homelessness, I think one of the best things that I've done since taking office was to hire Kent Hay, who is our outreach administrator. He is in the encampments each and every day. He knows people by name. He is getting them the resources that they are eligible for. He is finding housing for them. Some of the ARPA funds that were allocated by the council that I requested are going to be used for pilot programs that will allow incentives for landlords who are willing to provide apartments for individuals who in some cases may not be able to qualify for those apartments, as long as Kent is going to continue to be there and fill the gaps in that continuum of care. And we have the community court, which I think is incredibly important to help get people back on the right track. It's not just for individuals who are experiencing homelessness, but it is a great resource for them, as well as the Consolidated Resource Center that we opened that will house the food bank, the Sundown, the Ray of Hope, and our resource center.
Thank you, Mayor. Wendy Odell.
Hello. I don't believe there's anyone running that doesn't see the need for police reform or to help the homeless. I think everybody, this is one subject everybody's in agreement. And I personally am proud of what our city has done as far as the police and their cooperation with the police. I think it's a beautiful thing. As council, we have an obligation to keep people safe. If we can't successfully keep people safe, keep our community safe, keep our business community safe, then we can't keep our people safe. We must support the police and we must seek input from the community. Right now, police can arrest people, but nothing happens. What are we going to do about it? King County prosecutors decide whether we're going to prosecute or whether we're not going to, or whether we're going to charge for felonies or not. But there are things that we can do. The city council can prosecute some of these crimes and some of the homeless issues as a misdemeanor. I also have heard a lot about Kent Hay. I didn't ride along with him, but I will. And but I have heard a lot about his work in the homeless community. It seems like he's doing a good job. There still needs to be good work, or there still needs to be more work done. My concern is, what about the people who are not homeless because of drugs? Are those people going to be able to go into the hotels? Because I personally know a lot of people that, especially young people, because there's no home. So I personally know people who are not on drugs who are homeless. So homelessness is not just a drug addiction problem or a mental health problem. I mean, some of them just literally do not have housing. So.
Thank you, Wendy. The next question, we will start with Hanan. Recognizing that strong communities depend on schools, the physical and mental health of citizens, and good jobs, what will you do to encourage diverse businesses to locate to the city of Auburn?
This is a good question. Thank you. Because if you want to convince a diverse business owner to move, they need to know this is it's the city open for diverse people. When they see our city council, where we have the first mayor, we had the first mayor, we had the first African American, and hopefully they will have the first Muslim lady with hijab. This is will indicate this is diverse community. I think this is one of the good things. And hopefully there is a lot of we can do, but my understanding as a city council, we are restricted to matter of policy and budget. And no one single city council member can make any decision on their own. So any decision we make it as a 7 city council. Hopefully we will get more business. This is one thing. Second, I will try to do, we know like Green River, there is a lot of between Green River and the high school for education. Hopefully we can expand into other college. That's my goal. Get more business, have more people coming for the city, the more diverse city, which is called Auburn.
Thank you, Hanan. Councilmember Trout.
Well, thank you. I was the first person of color elected. I was the first Latina to be on the city council. I also was elected on National Leagues of Cities. And this is a good question because just the other day we had our meeting and I'm also on the HELO, which is the Hispanic Elected Legislative Officials. And we were talking about this. How are we working in our community to expand more diverse businesses to come in? That would be one of my priorities that I am going to be doing this year, is reaching out more to our diverse businesses that are in here, and also working with our Chamber of Commerce. We're already working with Blue Ribbon. I'm already on the Blue Ribbon Committee, where Pat Bailey is reaching out to all the diverse groups. We have reached out to the Samoans, the Latinos, the African Americans. Well, she's talked to African Americans, and just working with the Chamber of Commerce and working with the community college. I'm also on the CTE at the Auburn High School, which is certified technical certificate education for the youth to be learning on what type of work do they want to go into when they graduate, and they can go into Green River community and take some of the technical classes that are being offered there. Just continue speaking and bringing more diverse into our city and promoting it through our tourism also. We already say that we're a welcoming community, and we engaged for bringing more diverse businesses into our towns. And I would just continue doing what I'm doing, work with our businesses and with our large and small to bring in those industries into our cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Backus.
Thank you. It is incredibly important for the city to continue our partnership with the Auburn Area Chamber of Commerce. You are the experts at how to work with businesses. We have a new economic development manager, and I am excited by the work that she is doing, reaching out into the community, finding out what the needs are. But we also have to work, as you say, on bringing in diverse businesses. We don't have a database of women and minority-owned businesses. Those don't exist. And so last year, when we were providing funds for small businesses, we asked them to self-select so that we have some type of a database to work from. It's critically important that we listen to the owners of women and minority-owned businesses, find out what they need, find out how we can attract more businesses to our community. We have now a diversity, equity, and inclusion manager, Brenda Goodson-Moore, in our city. We held a town hall meeting last week on the Facebook and Zoom platform that was talking about how diversity, what type of diversity activities we're going to have within our city, our employees first, and then it will be outreach to our community. But there was a quote that I want to share with you because I think it's incredibly important, and it goes back to how we work with and listen to. If you find yourself at the table discussing the needs of a particular group of people, but you look around the room and you don't see anyone from that group, you should be highly skeptical of any conclusions reached. We can't do this on our own. We need to do the listening tours. We need to reach out and work with the chamber even more closely to identify what the needs are and how to attract those great businesses to our community. Through that diversity, we have a much richer community, and one that is looked at as a place that people want to live, work, and do business.
Thank you, Mayor. Wendy.
Hello. So the major jobs of the city council or members are police, budget, fees, permits, and legislature. But most importantly, the most important job is to listen. I will be everywhere that there's a business. I will listen to the concerns of the business owners, and I will bring them to the city council. As a small business accountant, I have dedicated my life to solving the problems of small business owners. For the first time in history, we have had the majority of council to be people of color. What a historic moment. This is great. While I believe in judging others by the concept of their skin, not by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, hopefully this better represents the makeup of our city. Now that we have this unique makeup, hopefully it's time to bring our city together. I am a huge advocate for business owners. I welcome discussions and suggestions from every business owner throughout Auburn. I had the great pleasure to go and meet the majority of them, and they're very unique. They're very every single one of them, although many of them had the same problems, many of them also had varying different issues. And as somebody that's been an accountant for 20 years, I can totally relate to the concerns that they're having. And I understand that your question is about helping the minority business owner, but I want to help all business owners, not because of somebody's skin color, but because you're a business owner, and because you are somebody who, instead of sitting back on the sideline, decided to take a risk and to take a chance and to go out there and fight. And most people, most businesses, they're just the guys out there who are doing the physical work. They know nothing about accounting, and they count on people like me to take care of their books while they're out there working their butts off in order to bring money home for their employees and for their families. And I really respect every business owner.
Thank you, Wendy. Kate.
Sure, thank you. As you've heard, there's already a lot of great ideas out here. And so I'm probably going to get a little bit into the nitty gritty of the types of things I would do if I were serving on council. So as we know, attracting business is always a challenge because we have great competition, right? Our peer communities nearby are also being able to come forward and present what they have available. So in what I do as a consultant is work with businesses to understand what we call a SWOT analysis. So you have to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats as a community, right? In trying to evaluate and attract that business here. There are, I think, sometimes many businesses that could come into an area, but we want to make sure that we're bringing in those that are going to offer good paying jobs, that are going to offer good benefits. And we can do that in part through zoning for the types of businesses that can go into certain places. So instead of having warehousing, for example, looking at different types of zoning we can put there. Within the council, we also have the ability to look at and evaluate contracts that are coming in. So as we talk about contract evaluation, what we can do is apply in that space a metric for how we would weight and balance metrics around diversity, equity, and inclusion, where we can take into account things like someone's minority status, veteran status, disability status, all the different things that represent diversity, because diversity is much more than just race. Diversity is age, diversity is background, history, gender, all the things. And so when we evaluate our vendors, when we evaluate how we're spending our budget in the community, we can take that into account for those folks and businesses we're going to support. And then in addition to that, looking at our demographics and communicating those and sharing those through organizations like the Chamber to attract businesses in, as we let folks know what our demographics are, letting them know that we've got good infrastructure, that we've got good room to build, letting them know that we've got dollars in our pockets that are looking to be spent. Putting together a list of the types of businesses we want and try and encourage more local growth. Do we have businesses here that we can support and help them expand, maybe from one location to two even? So looking at some of those resources we have and putting them really to work for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. We have reached the time of closing comments. You will each have 2 minutes. I know the time went really fast, you guys. That's good. We will start with Councilmember Trout. Closing comments, 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. And it's been an honor to be here and to share why I'm running and why I would like to stay on. I also agree that there's a time when we need to step aside. And I was going to do that this term, but I had so many people come to my home, call me, email me, asking me to stay on for another term. I had to talk it over with my husband. He retired this year, and I was going to retire with him. But because of my constituents reaching out to me, I prayed about it, and I said yes for one more term, and then I will be done. It's always an honor to be out here and represent each one of the people in this city. This city has some amazing people from a very diverse, from every walk of life. And I am honored to be able to sit down and talk with each one of them when I can, when they come to my home, when they call me, or when they see me out. As the mayor says, a lot of times she's out shopping, people are coming up to her. And that's what they do to me. And it makes me feel like I'm doing my job. And when they came to me, I feel like I have been doing my job. And I want to continue doing my job as best as I can for the city of Auburn. And not just for a few chosen, but for every single one of them, that we take that oath and says, we are representing everybody. And that's what I'm going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Backus, closing comments.
Thank you. And once again, thank you to the Chamber and to Boeing for sponsoring the event. We've made great strides. I am proud of the accomplishments that have been made in the last 8 years, but there is still so much left to do. I'm proud of the partnerships that we have with the Chamber, with the Auburn School District, with Green River College. We have the cities and schools where we are looking at how to attract family wage jobs and businesses to this community. I'm proud of the work that we do with the Muckleshoot Indian Tribe. I'm proud of the DEI work that has been started. And the journey is just beginning, and it's going to be difficult at times, but it's a journey that must be made. Everyone in our community must be made to feel welcome and included. And my friend, Mayor Ralph in Kent, has a saying that says, that which is done for us, but without us, is done to us. We can no longer do things in the name of doing good without inviting everyone to the table. I work regionally on behalf of Auburn and the people that I am so proud to serve. I want to continue doing that for 4 more years. Mayor Lewis used to have a saying that said, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Well, I will say now, I am proud that Auburn is not only invited to the table, we are setting the table. We are sought out for solutions, for creative ideas, and to be a voice of reason. And I am proud to be that voice of reason for the city of Auburn. I will continue to work for you each and every day. I have a saying that's taped to my monitor now at work that says, finish on empty. I have 4 years to accomplish so many things along with our city council and members of this community, and we are going to finish on empty. Behind my desk, I have 3 words: compassion, accountability, and community. And I promise you that every decision that is made out of my office is made with those 3 words in mind for the betterment of you, the community of Auburn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Wendy Odell, final comments, 2 minutes.
Hello. I just want to say thank you for the forum, to the mayor and to the other candidates who have joined. It's nice to put faces to names. I appreciate you guys inviting me and sharing this with you. Again, there were a lot of good comments made, a lot of good thoughts of things that I am one who believes that the legislature from the police legislature does tie our hands behind our back. So I would have to agree more with Yolanda about that situation. About the small businesses or about businesses, I think that there's great potential in the city. The fact that we have a good, diverse city council, the fact that we have a huge 120-acre lot that we can figure out something to do with it, and hopefully we can do something about the homeless and the lack of jobs and housing in this town. I think that my leadership experience in the military, my 10 years military, and my time as an accountant would suit this city well. And I appreciate the time that you've given me. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Kate Baldwin, final comments.
Sure, thank you so much. So as we wrap up the night, as everyone has said, thank you so much for having us. And I would want to say to everyone, running for council is serious work for serious people. And I think we feel that more now than ever, especially having gone through a pandemic where we see what can happen when we have, leadership at different levels that aren't prepared to handle the things that come their way, whether that's a crisis in the environment, whether it's a crisis with pandemic, a crisis in housing, a crisis with our country needing a raise. Those are things that we have to figure out how to address within our space of Auburn, and making sure that you have someone who is a candidate who's going to be an organizer, who's going to be a collaborator, who's going to be a builder, and someone who's showing up prepared. And I believe that's me. When I come to council, I'm always going to look for what's going to be a sensible solution. What can we work with within our budget? And I'm going to treat the issues that we have that demand this serious approach with the urgency that's required, because there are people today that are hurting. There are people who are on the edge of becoming homeless that are scared. And I think it's important that we address this critical time and do the work that we can immediately, but then that we also create a sense of readiness to emerge from this chaos, because what we have ahead of us is fantastic. We have nothing but opportunity. We're a community where we believe in helping each other. We've got those traditional values, and then you've also got progressive beliefs where we're going to welcome that next generation, and we're going to open our doors to those folks and say, come into Auburn, be a part of this community with us. I think I'm going to be a leader who can help us get through this initial year of coming out of this pandemic with our feet maybe a little bit more solid than they've been for the past few years. I'm looking forward to working with council. I'm looking forward to working with our county partners and folks at the state, and do everything that I can to make sure that every resident of Auburn has a bright future ahead. So vote for Kate Baldwin. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Last final comments. Come on, Amir.
First, thank you for having us. Beside them having a live party here in Best Western Hotel in Auburn. Thanks for my supporter. I want to say, as I mentioned before, I'm formal educate scientist. I was trained to do research before drawing conclusion. I will observe and listen, ask a question, collect data and do research, examine the result and draw the conclusion, report the result. All the skill I have and with volunteer, I think it's time for new city council, new leader who's willing, lead, listen, engage, advocate, and diverse. So vote for me, vote for Amir, go look my website. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for taking the time tonight to spend with us. We have learned a great deal. And at this point, I will turn it over to Casey.
I just want to thank again all the candidates. I know that you guys are extremely busy, so I really appreciate you guys showing up to give just a glimpse of why you're running and who you are as a candidate to our business community and our other community members. Thank you, Ingrid, for being our moderator today, and thank you to Boeing for being a sponsor. It is a personal passion of myself that we all vote local. So I am excited that you guys all could attend today, and that we are going to the polls November 2nd, and hopefully we will get our community to support voting local. So thank you again, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you and good night.
Take care.